Damn
Okay, well, do an introduction or something.
Hi, all you beautiful people out there in the internet world. We are live today, and we are surviving monsoon season here in Arizona.
Yes, we are. Or are we surviving it?
I think we're surviving. I mean, we're sitting here,
Yeah.
Okay,
you know,
so we are
hanging
here
out.
with our pal Ralts,
Yes.
Bloodthorn.
Hey, everybody.
It's been a while. Sorry
Yeah.
about yesterday.
Our internet did not survive monsoon season.
And we've got a flood warning, so it might happen again.
Yes. So if
Hey.
we suddenly cut out, you have been warned.
God, remember the old days when they'd get everybody down to the river throwing sandbags?
Yes,
You guys-
yes, I do.
Yep. I remember
I,
doing
I
that
grew
when I
up.
was a kid.
I grew up in Inglewood. I have no idea what that was like.
Really?
Really?
I'm in a concrete jungle.
Well, I lived in the suburbs, and we'd have flooding.
I was next to LAX. Where is there a river?
I think, yeah, true. I think the most bizarre thing, and this is incredibly California in the 80s, is we had flooding and the local park was just a lake, right?
hmm
Now, granted, it was only about a foot deep. And we're coming home from school, and I look out of the car window, and there's a guy out there on a surfboard running and jumping on the surfboard.
Wow.
That would be California right there.
Yep, that is totally California. No, the worst that we got was the basketball court at my elementary school got flooded. That was
Oh.
about it.
I remember I was 10. We'd been out at the river, about 4 days, and the Chehalis River was cresting. And it was funny. I was actually in the newspaper as elementary school kids help fight the river, and in the picture, I'm sitting there with with a bottle of Olympia beer and a cigarette.
How old were you?
Like 10. I was like fourth or fifth grade, but the whole class was sitting there because it was like 2 in the morning. We've been out there throwing We've been out there throwing sandbags all night. I still remember the bitter disappointment when we lost.
Oh
The river beat us and it flooded the whole town.
Oh no.
But yeah, I was actually in the paper with a cigarette. It was the 70s, so cigarette kid with a cigarette and a bottle of beer is not that big a deal.
Wow. Well, that is the perfect like poster picture for the river still flooding after all of your efforts.
Yeah.
Yeah, kid with a beer and a cigarette. Just
So, after really big storms and all this damage would happen, and this is in Norco, California, so that's rural. It's not like the suburbs where I lived. My grandmother liked to pack the car full of kids and drive around and see all the damage
Yes.
and look for downed power lines.
but
Oh,
you
she was
did
doing
that
community
after New
service
Year's.
there.
But she didn't report them.
Oh, she didn't report them.
No, she just looked at them.
Just wanted to see the carnage.
Yeah, my one of my dad's friends was still National Guard, and they'd load us all. Once I hit about 11, 12, and I was pretty stocky. I was short but stocky. They'd load us stronger kids up in the back of a 5-ton truck, and we'd be like waist deep in the water with the ropes, and we go to the houses and like carry little old ladies to the truck
Oh wow.
because flooding. God,
Floating, yeah.
it was just the way it was back then. You just did that stuff. And hell, if the water swept you away, it's not like your dad couldn't make another one anyway.
See, I didn't grow up in a neighborhood where like I understood the language of my neighbors.
Oh,
Oh,
Modesto and Merced, I was like the only kid in school that spoke English.
Oh, dude. Well, see, I grew up in Inglewood, and my parents are saying, no way in hell are you going to school here. So they sent me to a private school in Westchester. So,
so I got a question then, okay? Because I've never been able to get an answer on this. Where is Merced in relation to Lake Merced?
I haven't been to Merced in 40 years, so I think it's like near there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like Catherine just said, growing up in the rural back road, going out with your dad and your neighbor and clearing down trees with chainsaws so you could get to work in school. Yeah, they used to work us like dogs back then. You're 10. You could drag those branches off the road.
I think a lot of kids nowadays could use that.
I think, yeah. In fact, I think kids these days need that.
Mm-hmm.
Get
I
out of
think
the house, damn it.
I think we lost something when we stopped doing stuff like that as a community.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can still remember the mayor would be out there. I mean, he's the mayor and he's out there in his loggers jeans, running a chainsaw. And his wife's passing out Kool-Aid with wild turkey in it to all the kids because you got to stay warm. Gee, Ralts, how did you end up an alcoholic? I have no clue.
We do see a bit more of that here, though.
We
I
do.
will say that California doesn't have that anymore.
But Arizona, or at least this area, does.
Yeah, where we are at least.
Mhm.
Yeah, out where I live in the Midwest, they're like that. There's a lot more. But, we don't get the wild windstorms that knock down trees because any tree that's going to fall over died 100 years ago. I mean, when the winds come down, holy crap. The trees just sway. It's like 50, 60 mile an hour winds.
It was kind of interesting as Kat and I were talking about just all the crazy shit going on in the country now, and we're all, yeah, but you know what? Everybody in this neighborhood has guns and won't put up with it. So,
Yeah.
I'm not really that worried.
No. Although I do have to say, I know it wasn't the community banding together, but when we first moved out here, the winds during monsoon season did knock down a tree in the middle of one of the main roads. And I did feel like it was my duty to call it in. I didn't think anybody would do anything about it because in California they don't. But I was absolutely shocked. Within 10 minutes, there was a crew out there with chainsaws taking care of it. It's like, holy crap, people take that seriously here.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ralts, you said something before we went live, and if you don't want to talk about it, fine.
No, go
But
ahead.
you said the lines. One of the times I was electrocuted.
Yes, yeah. I'm not the most careful dude. I don't think. When I was younger, I didn't think. And let's see, I've been knocked on my ass more than once. The worst I ever got was there was a dryer and it was making weird noises, and I reached back to unplug it, and I was drunk,
Oh, no.
and my fingers hit the prongs. Now that's bad enough in the U.S., but I did it in Germany,
Oh, geez.
and that's 443 phase.
Yeah.
And it knocked me against the wall, and I was kind of like, "Rrr." My friend's like, "You gonna live?" I'm like, "I think so." He's like, "Damn," because I kind of want your stereo. I was like, "Help me up and get me out of here." Let's see. My job. One of the things I did, in addition to everything else I did in the Army, I used to do the cabling, which is you have privates dig the trench and you run the electrical cable all over where you set up. And I got zapped more than once because of that. Like my hand had hit a frayed cable. And it got to the point where, I just got used to it. And yeah, I've been electrocuted. Probably the worst one I got was not my fault and wasn't me being careless. They'd set up the big heavy duty generators and it was raining. And I was walking across, I was walking from the fuel point over to where my truck was, and I stepped in this puddle. And the next thing I knew, I'm laying on the ground and everybody's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "What happened?" Oh, I was like, "Oh, my mouth." And they're like, "Yeah, your teeth are busted up, man. We got to take you to the doctor." I'm like, "What happened?" They're like, "There was just this bright blue flash and it knocked you ass over tea kettle." It turned out they didn't ground the generator properly.
Oh, no.
And I stepped in it and it just boom. And I get to the hospital, my mouth's all bleeding and everything, and my eye didn't work right anyway, but it was bleeding, and my chest hurt really bad. And the doctor's like, "Well, you should be okay, but your teeth are fucked." I'm like, "What the hell happened?" And he goes, "Well, it's AC, and AC contracts and releases, so it makes your jaw clench and unclench really fast, and that's why it blows you away." Now, normally with direct current with DC, it goes in one direction. So if you get grabbed by DC, you stay holding on to it. AC makes your muscles rapidly contract and release. That's why it'll throw you.
Mm-hmm.
If you step in it, though, you're fucked. No, she asked, "Did I get my teeth fixed?" Yeah, the Army fixed them about as well as the Army fixes anything.
So
No,
getting electrocuted at that level, I mean, is it just like pure pain?
It was just 1 minute I was awake, the next minute my chest hurt, and I was being put on a stretcher. I was like, it hurt, but I've been hurt worse. But it's a lot of pain. Oh, I love that. Speaking of water, news mentioned something about how you can't collect, purify, and drink rainwater because it's contaminated with chemicals that cause cancer. In Oregon, there was a huge legal fight because the state of Oregon says that the rain belongs to the state and the county, not
Oh,
to everybody, and you're not allowed to collect it in rain barrels. And you're not allowed to like dig a pond on your property because it
Okay.
belongs to the state.
wait, Oregon said this?
Yeah,
What a
Oregon
weird-
said that. Yeah, it was a few years back. It was, I don't know, 10 years ago. It was a huge argument over it because they were like, you can't have rain barrels. And everybody was like, go to hell. Come take it.
I think that's going to be the theme for the next 10 years is, oh yeah, what are you going to do about it?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's getting to that point. There's a lot of governors going, okay, then why don't you come take it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You got more and more people that are telling counties, no, I'm not going to pay my property tax until you fix the road. More
Good.
and more people are telling that to counties. I mean, pretty much now, if you call, where I'm at, you call up and say, yeah, I'm not paying you until you fix the road. They're like, okay, all right, we'll just mark that down. Because, you're not the only one. Because, it gets me. Why am I paying this kind of property tax? What's the money going for? Because it sure as hell isn't going to the road.
Mhm.
And you won't even fix. Oh, and what gets me is you want to get the county to move, get some asphalt, and pave the pothole out front of your house yourself. And watch how fast they're out there. They will be out there within like 2 days. And they'll be all mad.
Mhm.
What'll they dig it back up?
No, they'll just, who did this? And you're like, I don't know, I didn't see it. The guy down the street was like, I don't know, some Mexican guys came up, just patched them all up. I don't know. The guy was like, no, there wasn't. He was like, yep, that's what I saw.
Yeah, I like that excuse. It was some Mexican.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mexicans.
The Mexican guy that lives in the neighborhood was like, don't look at me, man. I work on air conditioners. Ooh, the vending machine not grounded. Bolt of lightning. Pow. Yeah, bolt of lightning is one hell of a thing.
Oh, actually, I had a friend whose father was in Vietnam, and one of the few stories he would tell was of the time they were in the middle of a rainstorm, and his superior said, "Hey, set up the radio antenna,"
Oh, yeah. Surprise.
and
Enjoy
got
that.
everybody apparently.
Ugh. I used to work with ammunition at one of my duty stations. I worked with live ammo. When we're talking everything from rifle, pistol bullets all the way up to the big honking Tomahawk missiles.
Holy
And
shit.
nothing will make your asshole slam shut like you're in the middle of doing something and you hear the rumble of thunder. All that stuff has to get right in the bunker. You have to throw it up in the bunker real fast because the last thing you want is a lightning strike on like an MLRS pod. Because it's like, wow, the missiles went far.
So none of that stuff's grounded?
No, you can't ground it when you're putting it on a cement pad so you can inventory it and
Oh,
do
okay.
inspection. The bunker's grounded, the bunker's safe, but when it's out on the pad or it's out on the truck because you're moving it, no, it ain't grounded. You work in, you hear, be like, yep, time to go. And actually, if you've got enough of it on the ground, there's nothing you can do. So you just go up range and hope nothing happens.
Okay, everyone move out.
Yep, everybody go up range. We'll sit up here and drink beer and wait for the thunderstorm to pass. Well, what if lightning hits it? Then we're not gonna care. It's like we've got 3 megatons of firepower sitting on those pads. If it goes off, we're not gonna care. Somebody's gonna care, but it won't be us.
Yeah, what kind of were they tipped with conventional or nuclear?
Conventional for the most
Oh,
part.
okay, so they could actually go off.
Oh yeah, and then TOW2 missile, TOW2 missiles, all that good stuff. Old AT-4s, old rockets. Well, AT-4 was brand new at the time. But I mean, TOW-2 missiles, the TOW-2 missile was a brand new system. And those things were so janky. And that's why they replaced them after like 6 months. They completely did a new thing. Ooh, don't want to get into that.
Oh, the Alloys.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah, Alloys.
Let's,
I've
let,
got my opinions, and none of them are good.
yeah. Let's not attract the attention of the glowies. Yep, because
Uh,
what's my? But yeah, shit.
okay, my opinion, Alloys. Red Dawn.
Now, what's mine? It's gonna get worse before it gets better.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I don't know. That's like an entire show on its own, and I don't know if I want to go there right now. I know that it would really be great for hits, and you guys probably would all tune in to listen, but don't feel like it. But
J.W. Champagne put up something about aquifers. The big thing about the aquifers right now is Hershey, the Hershey Corporation. They've sunk aquifers into some places hard enough that it's actually causing droughts in that area.
Really?
The Rogue Valley in Washington that had big problems with Nestle putting illegal taps down, and just truck after truck after truck would leave full of water. And finally, they got permission to pipe it out, and the vineyards are actually having problems.
I knew. No, is it Nestle or is it Hershey?
Same, the parent corporation that does the bottled water. I think it's Nestle.
Nestle. Yeah, I know Nestle are assholes, so I'm not shocked that they did that.
Yeah, they've been sinking aquifer taps all over the place.
jeez.
Yeah, they're right bastards.
Well, them and Coca-Cola use mercenaries.
Oh, that's true. That's very true.
Oh, in the third world?
Yeah.
What do you know?
What do I know? They were mostly used to keep them from forming unions and to keep the wages low.
Jesus.
Well,
What about
you're not going to ask for more than 10 cents an hour if somebody's kicking in your front door and sticking a rifle barrel in your mouth. 10 cents an hour sounds real good, as long as it gets that guy away from you.
Jesus.
It's a bad old world. I didn't make the world. I just try to live in it.
Mm-hmm.
So what about you? What have you been up to?
What have I been up to?
Yeah.
Haunted
houses?
That's the nicer side of things, yes. Haunted houses, a girls' day where we went shopping at all the places that have their Halloween stuff out. So, all the fun things.
So you're doing a haunted house?
Yes, I got one of those like really huge Fisher Price doll houses, and I'm completely redoing it, so it's going to be a spooky haunted house.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been working on it for a little over a month now, and finally got to painting. So, yeah, because I've been adding all sorts of different things like new roofs and brickwork and stuff like that, and so finally down to painting it.
So it's a dollhouse?
Yeah.
Damn, that's some. Well, I've seen people do amazing stuff with dollhouses. Hey, she doesn't have one of those rooms where you walk in and there's like 500 porcelain dolls staring at you with the creepy eyes. She's not one of those, is she?
No, thankfully no.
No, I just have tons of skulls.
I had some rules about that too. It's like, okay, I've got my office and I've got my outdoor office. That's all I care about. And my coffee station.
I have the garage.
I don't care what you do with the rest of the house. And then she started working on the living room, and I'm like, okay, a new rule. Not so many skulls.
Well, it could be those.
Live in an ossuary?
Hey, she could be one of those porcelain doll collectors.
That would be worse.
No, Ralts, do you see the doll back there? That's the only doll in the house. And it's here in this room. So this house does not have dolls.
Does not have dolls.
Well,
no, we have action figures.
You're right. Okay,
we have action figures and we have statuary, but that is the only doll in the house.
Yeah, the living room is very goth, very goth. Lots of bones, bats, couple skulls.
I have some Japanese woodcuts of ghosts.
You made a creepy clock.
I made a creepy clock. I'm gonna make another one.
That and the other rule is I don't want anything where I wake up in the middle of the night and there's a fucking skull looking at me. No,
Oh, come on. Who doesn't want that?
Skull that I've got in there.
that's fine.
Or Poe.
Well, that's not in the bedroom.
No, Poe's not in the bedroom.
And I think if I'd let you go wild with it, the bedroom would probably look like a mausoleum.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, I've never been a big collector, except for gaming stuff. I got enough tabletop gaming stuff to choke a horse.
Well, that just goes with the territory.
Yeah, I got a first edition, second printing Legends and Deities and Demigods. I got a first printing 1978 Dungeon Master's Guide that I actually bought in I bought it in like 78.
Nice.
So I've still got the first edition.
Oh, very cool. You're only the second person I've ever met who owned one of those. The first person, same thing. They bought it when it came out, and their ex-girlfriend allowed her kid to draw in it.
Oh, bitch.
Oh man, I got a player's handbook somewhere around here, but I got the reprint. I got the reprint of the Monster Manual and the Player's Handbook, the ones that came out in 2000. The only reason that Dungeon Master's Guide survived, it was under seat of the car when the house burned down.
Oh, geez.
If I hadn't left it in the car, that and my Ravenloft stuff, I would have lost all that.
Okay,
Oh,
so I'm going to go full screen since we're talking about collecting stuff.
What are you doing?
This is pretty much my pride and joy here. I don't know if you can see it very
Oh
well.
wow, model planes.
The Valkyrie.
There's the model planes. Yeah, those things are kind of expensive. That bookcase there is all vintage cyberpunk novels, and let's see, that you can't see it. Inside the box is a Valkyrie from Macross Robotech, which is at the same scale as the fighter jet. So I'm very happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. That's my collection.
The other collection I've got is those 8-inch figures that you can buy at the store. I've got one for every Jason movie and Laurie Strode. I've got Loomis, Laurie Strode, and Michael Myers, but then I got one for every Jason movie.
Nice.
Because I love that series. Doing God's work, killing hippies and teenagers.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting the fact that throughout the 80s, that's pretty much all Jason did.
Kill hippies and teenagers.
Yeah. And dumb ones.
I liked the Michael Bay remake. That was actually pretty good. A lot of people didn't like it. I liked it. I mean, he went right back to his roots, killing teenagers and hippies.
Cool.
Yes, machetes are a sexually transmitted disease.
It's okay, guys. All he wanted was his machete.
Yeah, a great line. God, I saw most of them in the theater up until like 7. I disavow 7, and I disavow which one? Manhattan. I don't like those.
Manhattan's not good.
But
it
what's
could
funny
have
is,
been, and they didn't.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jason-
we want to see New Yorkers get slaughtered.
yeah, and he just chased out some idiots on boats.
Which, if it was, like, let's say if it was a Jason on a cruise ship, there's lots of opportunity there. But
That's what it started as too. Was Jason on a cruise ship?
I'd like to see Jason in Portland.
Portland? I don't think they'd know. I don't think they'd notice.
Modern Portland? No.
Go down to what is it? What was it? The was it the Chaz?
Oh man, last time I was in Portland, I was going to the VA, and I got off the freeway, and they were doing some march, and they were like, "Get out of your truck and join us." I was like, "I'm going to the VA," and I got a gun. Get away from my truck. But it was way before they got bold enough to not think people would do anything. But God, those days were terrible. It's one of the reasons I left. It's like goodbye. Jason X was a good movie. Yeah, I like Michael Myers. Actually, the whole series is pretty good. Unfortunately, after Mustafa Akkad got blown up in a terrorist attack, we lost what was going to happen with that because the whole thing was reaching for one big thing. Um, Basically, the whole thing behind Michael Myers, it was basically a combination of the old Sam Hain and the lottery. Basically, the reason why why Haddonfield was so wealthy and doing so well is they would pick one family to get killed, and their number came up, and the shape inhabited Michael Myers to kill his family, but unfortunately, he ended up. Anyway, that was the story behind it.
Really, that was the original story for Friday the
That's
13th.
cool.
No, that's Halloween with
Halloween.
Michael Myers. Yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah.
That's totally cool.
That
It takes a while to figure it out too.
that really adds to it.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, that's why
So,
the cops are kind of that's why they know he's out there, but they don't call the National Guard or anything because he was just supposed to kill Lori and then it would be over. But that's not how it worked out.
that really brings a whole new element to the film that I'd always
Yeah.
missed.
Especially when you watch the later one when he's chasing the other relatives. He's supposed to wipe them out. And that's supposed to ensure, the Sam Hain festival is complete. Instead of doing the Wicker Man, they did the shape. It's kind of interesting. You kind of got to pay attention.
Dude.
So, how much of a horror movie buff are you then?
Depends. I mean, I don't watch. It. I don't think it's gonna. I don't worry about whether or not it's gonna scare me. One of my favorite horror movies of all time is Night of the Living Dead, 1990. But I don't like a lot of the modern stuff because it's not scary.
No,
The
it's all
modern
Yeah.
jump
stuff is
scares.
it's not. It's really not scary. Yeah, I've seen all the like hell. I've seen all. Well, I've saw most of the Hellraisers. I quit after they went to space. Silver Shamrock. There you go. Silver Shamrock. That's part 3. Um, let's see. God, I ran around singing that song.
Yeah, I
Jeez.
know.
There was. Let's see. I've seen all. Well, you know, Romero lost it after Land of the Dead, and Land of the Dead had a terrible ending. Um, I don't watch like the avant-garde stuff, but mostly I like a lot of horror movies because they don't scare me.
So, what would be
No.
an avant-garde?
um, I don't know. I don't watch stuff like that. Oh, I made the mistake of watching the movie It Follows, and everybody was talking it up about how scary it was, but all it was an STD with a ghost. Big deal.
Yeah.
It wasn't that scary. I like the Hills Have Eyes remake. That was good. Oh God, if you ever want to scare teenage girls, show them not the remake. Show them the original Last House on the Left.
That film is fucking intense.
I will not watch it. I know my limitations, and that is one of them. So
The thing
one
is, yeah,
of my daughters was like, oh, she went with one of her friends, and she went behind our back and went somewhere, and we said, you want to see something? This is based on a true story, and this is what happens to idiots who don't tell their parents where they're going and then go meet dope dealers. And we let her watch that. She never did it again.
good dad.
so based on a true story, really? I mean, I kind of got the sense it was supposed to be like the Mansons.
Originally, this was back, in the 90s before the internet was big. So we really didn't know. I don't know if it's actually based on a true story or not, but that was the claim back then. Because there's a couple of them that was, now we know that they weren't actually based on a true story.
Mhm. But let's face it, there are a lot of stories of things that have happened to, especially young girls, where you could say, "Yeah, I could see how this may have influenced it." So,
The thing that got me about Last House on the Left was I had heard how horrifying it was, and it definitely delivered. And I had heard very mixed opinions about, oh, it's just a snuff film, oh, it's just a shock. But that really wasn't what I got from it. I almost got like the sense that it was about generation gap and an utter failure of the 60s. And now maybe I'm reading into it, but you've got
That was
these,
part of it.
yeah, because you've got these 50s parents who are like, I thought you kids were the love generation. And
Yeah.
every time you cut to the parents, you've got this very, suburban 1950s happy music playing. And then you keep cutting back to what's happening to the girl, and it's psychedelic music, and
Yeah.
it's just getting worse and worse.
The big thing with that is, that thing is actually unrated. Like, if you
I'm
could
not
actually look this up
surprised.
online, what happened was it kept getting rated X, and Wes Craven got pissed off, and he went to a friend of his that worked at a theater, and he cut the end off of another movie with the certification on it, put it on his, and then sent it out for distribution.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Good for him.
Yep. Oh, how to sell back then? Claim it's all real. Work for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Works so well. There's still people that think Leatherface is real. Dude, people think Leatherface is real right now. And I'm sorry, you can't convince me otherwise, because I lived in Texas, and I could seriously believe there's a dude with a chainsaw out there eating people, because every year, like, 200 or 300 people go missing in Texas, and nobody gives a shit.
Wow.
Maybe they need to hit Austin.
Oh man, Austin used to be cool. Austin, you go down to 6th Street and just get hammered, shit faced on Jello shots.
That's what I heard, that Austin used to be really cool, and then hippies.
Well, it was, and then they did the whole keep Austin weird, and all the California transplants moved in, and then they shut it up, because you used to be able to go down. I mean, I remember when I was there, was '92. There was this group of guys who were homeless, and if everybody kicked in $20, they'd like 3 or 4 of them would get in there and fight. And you just sit there drinking beer and watching these homeless dudes fight for $20, for $20 a show. And now everybody be like, "Oh, that's so cruel." But these guys would be like flexing and everything. These guys were just
Bum fights before bum fights.
yeah. Well, these guys weren't your typical, methed out homeless. These guys were like hobos. And there'd be one dude who'd be like, "No knives, no brass knuckles. Winner gets the hat." You throw $20 in the hat, sit there and drink beer and watch.
Wow. George, what do you think of creepypasta like Slender Man and stuff?
Slender Man doesn't impress me because I was on something awful when it was come up with. It was just a Photoshop contest that everybody jumped on and started making, doing the Slender Man thing, and then Marble Hornets did it, and it escaped containment and went all over the internet, and it was like, oh boy.
I find the Slender Man phenomena fascinating, because there are so many people that are just thoroughly convinced that it is real, that it's this old legend, and there's all sorts of conflation and confabulation tied to it. And in a sense, it's like what happened with the Bigfoot legend in the 70s,
Yeah.
where this Bigfoot thing gets put forward, and then there's like this reverse history where people start tying things together that were never there. And because there's no record of it, you can't really say whether or not. Slenderman, we know the exact place, time, and date and person who created it.
I was in on that thread. A couple of the pictures that get passed around are the ones I photoshopped.
Really?
Yeah, my daughter's always like, somebody's like, "Oh, look at this picture of Slender Man." My daughter was like, "Yeah, my dad did that one."
That's too cool.
It was a thread. It was I think got up to like 120 pages. It was a
Wow.
huge thread that it started out just make photos creepy, make old time photos creepy. At about page 10, 15, the Slender Man thing caught on, and everybody did it after that just to add him in.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
one of them in that thread that I've actually seen on other sites. It's the D-Day discussion. I think it's Eisenhower's. It's not Eisenhower. Might have been Eisenhower, but it's one of the generals standing there with a bunch of guys around him. If you look at the picture really close, Jason from Friday the 13th Part 6 is standing there. I photoshopped him in, and I've actually seen it passed around.
Nice.
So, Nascario, my feeling about creepypasta is, like any genre, there are some real gems among a lot of crap. I've come across some creepypastas I thought were impressive. The idea of the going back to the campfire story of this really happened. I like that idea. It's just very few people can do it well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you start to really appreciate your uncle that used to get shit faced hammered on Wild Turkey and tell you guys totally real stories about things that happened. I mean, we all heard the hook, the guy with the hook.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We all heard about the guy honking the horn because there was somebody in the back seat behind the woman. You know, we all heard that, and it was true stories. We lost something as soon as somebody could just open up their phone and go, "No, it's not true." I mean, it was just something because you'd be out in the woods, middle of the damn night. You've got your rifle. You're sitting there with the girls, and everybody's drinking, and you're passing around these stories that everybody knows it's true because your brother told it to you, and he heard it from a friend who totally knew a guy who was there. We lost something.
Mhm.
We lost something when we stopped doing that.
I agree.
Of course, just imagine how people would react now because I remember being 13 and hiking up, and we'd hike up, and we'd all have rifles. Even the girls would be carrying rifles. And it's not because oh we're macho and everything, because where I lived there was mountain lions. And if you've ever seen a mountain lion, that is a 600-pound diesel fueled killing machine.
Mhm.
So you all had rifles. You all had 308s. Nobody's going to take an AR-15 because that's a gun you use to shoot rabbits. You got like your 30-06. I had a cool engraved lever action 30-30 like the rifleman. That was mine. And we would go out there, and we tell our dads, hey, we're going camping, and dad always had a bottle of whiskey. Be like, don't do nothing stupid. Get out of the house. And you'd go up there, and you'd be gone for like a week up in the woods, drinking and telling lies and having a good time. And it lost something when people stopped doing that. I mean, I know it
Yeah.
sounds weird, but
No, I agree.
Well, I think even, I mean, not really related to what you're saying, but the bit about you all had guns.
yeah,
I think that's part of the problem is that we've become so sheltered. I mean, we're always going, oh, we need to get guns off the street. There are too many guns. There are too many guns. Like, there was an age in this country not too long ago where you could go down to a liquor store, buy a bottle of Jack and a revolver for six
and a
bucks.
revolver. Yeah, well, I used to go to school. That lever action 30-30 sat in the back window of my truck,
Yeah.
even when I was at school, and my truck didn't have doors on it. I had seat
Okay.
I had seat belts so that when I went around the corner, my girlfriend wouldn't fly out the door. Well, my dad hooked me up with a truck for $300 that I'd been worked on, and took me all summer to fix it. It didn't have doors. My girlfriend's first demand was that I buy her a door because I'd go around one of those tight corners, and she'd be leaning part way out the door trying to grab onto the dash.
Oh, jeez.
She was like,
Well,
"You're
see, the
buying a
thing
door.
is,
You're going to the junkyard and getting me a door."
is that one, risk meant that you had responsibility. If you
Oh yeah,
fucked up, that was your fault. That
oh
wasn't
yeah.
society's fault.
No,
There should be a sign telling you, hey, don't drive without doors.
yeah. Well, it wasn't that big of a deal. We had seatbelts.
That, and I think back then, that there was a respect for firearms. Parents,
Yeah.
and that's what's really missing. You can try to ban guns all you want. That's not going to fix anything. I mean, look
No.
at England now. Their knife crimes exceed the shootings in New York.
Well, you have to look at it this way. All these people that really talk about it live in cities, right? What are the
Yeah.
chances that somebody living in, say, Bellevue, or say Tucson, is going to be walking down the street and a mountain lion's going to come rushing out of the alley and bum rush them?
Well, the
What are the
Javelinos
chances?
might.
Yeah, but I mean, I called my boss one day. I was like, "Hey, I can't come into work." He's like, "Why?" I said, "Because there's a cat on the hood of my truck." And he's like, "Well, then knock the damn cat off." And I had a BlackBerry with a camera on it because that was what they passed out at the top. And I said, "Why don't you come over here and knock his ass off?" And I took a picture of it. It's this female mountain lion
Jeez.
sitting on the hood of my truck, looking at me like, "Yeah, you got about 10 seconds to get back in that house, or I'm eating you." And he's like, "You know what? I'll see you tomorrow."
Remember the time Carissa posted, said, look what I woke
Oh
up to.
God, yes.
And there's a bear sitting on her porch right in front of the door.
Yeah. She lived in
Minnesota.
Now, when I lived on the coast of Washington, they had Bear Island where the grizzly bears would winter. Come spring, they'd come onto the mainland. And so you'd have bears. And I can still remember I told my kids, go to school. And they opened the door and they shut the door and they said, we can't go to school, Daddy. And I was like, go to school. And they're like, we can't. And I looked out the window and there's this big ass bear at the neighbor's house ripping apart his car
Oh, geez.
because he left groceries in his car the night
Oops.
before because he was drunk. I called the school. I'm like, yeah, my kids aren't getting down there. I called the sheriff. The sheriff drove by, calls me through dispatch and goes, yeah, you're shit out of luck. That's a grizzly. I ain't messing with him. The only thing the M16 in my trunk's going to do is piss him off. And he wasn't a little one. He was big, but he came off of Grizzly Island and he was looking for food.
Jesus.
Me and my wife came around the corner at 2 a.m. and almost hit a sea lion.
Oh my God.
And sea lions are huge.
Yeah,
And he's just in the middle of the road looking around like, what's up? This is my road now. But people don't realize that those animals are out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't realize that there's packs of coyotes, 200 strong out there running around. And they're like, oh, you don't need it. It's like, I had a pistol in my truck just to go to town because, you know, you never knew what you were going to find. You know, I'm not shooting at a sea lion because fuck that. And I'm not shooting at a bear with anything less than a 30-06. But, you know, bobcats, cougars, rampaging ducks.
They won't talk about it much on national news, but the sheer number of stories we hear on local news here, where something happens, some sort of robbery, and the citizens are all conceal or open carry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's it. It's over.
Usually, they've gotten it taken care of by the time the cops get there.
But let's see. Yeah, Eloise, I had heard about the 3 kids who decided to sacrifice the Slender Man in the woods.
No.
Yeah.
Two girls got the girl that they hated to follow them out into the woods, and they killed her. So.
And those parents were pretty rotten. I mean, put bluntly, those were not very good parents. But it is an interesting story.
Yeah. The world is a weird place. And see, everybody wants to keep stuff like that from happening. I'm sorry. There's just broken and fucked up people out there.
Well, you probably can relate to this more than I can, but the hardest thing for me to deal with, and what I had to get over to really work through post-traumatic stress after getting shot, was coming to the acceptance that there really is no place or time on Earth where you're safe. No matter what you do, no matter how safe you think you are, you're not safe anywhere at any time.
I learned that really, really, really early. I've mentioned before on here to you. I mentioned to you. I mentioned here on stream. I grew up in a 70s trailer park where you had the railroad tracks and the other side of the railroad tracks, and the trailer park's there. But past that was another set of railroad tracks that people had stolen to sell for crank. And there's a trailer park there. I lived in that trailer park. And I was sitting, me and some friends of mine were sitting there and we were eating popsicles. And it was the shitty ones that you make at home. You know, if you remember those little plastic things.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sitting there eating them. And this guy was always drunk. And he came driving down the street and he hit, remember how they used to have the high tension steel braided cables coming off the telephone poles?
Yeah.
He hit that and flipped his car. And when he hit, he was thrown halfway out of the car and then the car crushed him because it landed on its top. And we're all like 5 and 6. And I remember we just sat there and looked at him, and one of the girls goes, well, I guess I had to go tell Daddy. And she ran off, and the ambulance came and got him. We sat there, kept eating the popsicles. So I knew pretty early that it didn't matter. When it was your time, it's over. So that really made it so I just didn't care anymore. But I mean, this dude had been doing that. You know, he would drive drunk all the goddamn time. As a matter of fact, he wanted to beat my brother's ass. My brother went out and he built a snowman over the fire hydrant. And he came home drunk. He was driving home drunk. He saw the snowman decide to hit it with his car, and he hit the fire hydrant. and totaled the front of his car. He was gonna whip my brother's ass until my brother, because I was like, no, my brother did it. Right? And he's like, you get your brother out here. My brother comes out. I'm 6 foot tall. I'm the shortest male in my family by about 4 inches. And my brother comes out. My brother had been back from Vietnam for like maybe a couple of years. He comes out and he's like, "So who wants to see me?" That guy took off running. But yeah, my brother told me he did that because that guy kept hitting the snowman. What scene out of a horror film was most scary to you? There is one, and it still kind of haunts me to this day.
Yeah,
Have you ever seen Jacob's Ladder?
it's on my to watch list that I really want to see it.
Okay, I'm not going to spoil it, but the very end scene of that movie fucked with me for years.
Really?
Yeah. Let's see, another one that really messed with me. Damn. I'm trying to think if there's one that's really messed with me. No, I can tell you one that actually enraged me.
Okay.
We went to the theater to see 28 Weeks Later.
Okay.
And it got to, we got to the part where they're dropping napalm in the streets. That's not how napalm works. I don't know how the Ragers reached through a Bradley armored fighting vehicle to grab the crews, because that's 6 inches of hardened steel armor. But what finally got me where I got up and left the theater is they're in the alley, and the nerve gas they deployed nerve gas so thick it looks like fog. And they stuff rags, they roll up the windows and turn on the air conditioner and put rags over the vents. And that was supposed to save them.
No.
And I looked at my wife and I said,
Yeah.
I'm done right here. My wife was like, we gotta go. I mean, if it's thick enough that it looks like fog and it's creeping in through the cracks of the window, you're dead, because that stuff kills at parts per million. I mean, that part bothered me. Another one that got me. Oh God, there's not that many horror movies really get to me. My fear response is fucked up.
It's not fucked up. It's just it has new parameters.
I'm trying to think if there are any of them that really got to me.
Well, as you think about it, I can mention the ones that messed me up.
Okay.
One that I had the most visceral reaction to, and this one is strange because it didn't frighten me. There was no emotional component whatsoever. I was watching John Carpenter's Masters of Horror episode, 1 hour long.
I remember this.
Cigarette burns. Okay.
Oof.
Oh, have you seen this film?
No, but I've seen
Really?
cigarette burns.
It's,
With Udo Kier.
and there is a scene where Udo Kier sees the movie that kills anyone who watches it or drives them mad. And the build-up's great. But when he's losing his shit at one point, he goes to the projector, cuts himself open, pulls out his intestines, and threads it into the projector and starts letting it disembowel him. And you see the light shining through the intestines as it's disemboweling him. And for the life of me, I mean, it didn't frighten me. I'm just watching. I'm perfectly fine. And then I am hit with dizzy, nausea. I have a full-blown, I guess, post-traumatic reaction of like cold chills, the adrenaline rush, the heart rapidly beating, and I think I'm going to puke. So I got to stand up, and I hit the ground. No equilibrium whatsoever.
Well, I don't know if you remember fully, because I do think you blacked out or went into a fugue state for a second. I actually turned to look at you while we were watching it, and you were ghost white. You were clammy. You had a slight sweat, and you just had that 1,000-yard stare where you were not here. And I got your attention, and I asked, "Are you okay?" And you're like, "Yeah. I think I need to get a drink." And you stood up and you hit the ground.
Yeah, and the thing was, there was zero emotional component to it, but man, did it affect me. And I don't know what it was. I have no idea why. I mean, apparently, when they were pulling the bullet out of me, I did wake up on the table, so maybe I saw something, but I don't remember it.
Damn. I can see where that would get you. Yeah, I cannot think of a scary movie that's actually fucked with me. No, wait.
Yeah.
One of the Faces of Death movies.
Oh my God.
Had this woman who they see this bear, and this woman goes, "Well, I'll get out and get it to move." And she gets out of her car and walks up and shoves the bear. and the bear did what bears did and ate her. And I still remember the way it sunk its teeth into her back and just peeled everything off.
Oh, gee, I did not see that part of Faces of Death. I've watched one of the
It might have
videos.
been, I can't remember, it was either one or two, but I was like, damn. I can still remember that.
Wow.
But most scary to me out of a horror film, that horror films don't really bother me that much. I mean, huh. The Thing,
So,
the Thing
oh,
gets me.
that's a great film.
No, I'm trying. No, I can't think of any horror movie. I don't have the same response. Oh God, I watched Three Kings, and the coloration of the sand, because they used the filters right to make the sand look like Southern Iraq, gave me the shakes.
Really?
Yeah, it's the early part of the movie gave me the shakes. The later part didn't.
That's actually very interesting that that something as simple as the color being correct, giving you that
Yeah,
reaction.
I could smell the diesel and the jet fuel and everything else, and even my wife was like, "Yeah, we gotta turn this off." But then you get to the second half of it, and it's your typical Hollywood stuff, so that didn't bother.
But since the beginning is all establishing and
Yeah.
mood, it immerses you.
So I guess the other ones that really affected me, there are two. One is one of my favorite films, and that's Event Horizon. And I'm not sure exactly what it is about that film. The mood, the tone, the lighting, and just the unknown nature of it all. Something about that whole thing has such a nightmarish quality. It always gets me. Um, the other one is, and this is itself, no moment actually scared me. The film itself disturbed me. There's a film called, is it Mother, or let me check. Let me check. Let me make sure.
Grace?
Grace. Yeah, it was called Grace.
I haven't seen that one.
And being that I have such a horrible relationship with the woman who raised me, I think that's really it. Um, it's about this couple who really, really want a baby. Uh, they go through bizarre New Age holistic shit, and she gives birth, or the stillbirth that survives. She has a stillbirth baby that survives, and the kid's a
Weird.
vampire.
Uh,
And that in itself is just amusing. But what was interesting was the ongoing story of just how much that mother was willing to kill and sacrifice everyone around her to get blood for that kid. And it didn't matter how vile and terrible it was, she was going to keep that kid alive. And that got to me.
Huh. I haven't seen that one.
Real quick, Drake, how good was the Event Horizon book? You have me interested. I didn't know there was one. But anyway. But yeah, I did not get the same reaction out of Grace, but I think it's because my fears are different. So.
I'm trying to think if there was anything else.
Me, it's haunted houses.
Haunted houses?
Well, okay. There is either it's creepy as shit and I cannot watch it alone or in the dark, or it's laugh out loud, goofy, stupid for me. There is no in between when it comes to haunted house stories.
Wait, I do know there is one more, but keep going.
But the ones that stand out to me are definitely Event Horizon, haunted house in space. Hell House, one of my favorite books. Read it.
It's a great film.
Read the book at least 4 times already. Love the film. And strangely enough, the episode of Tales from the Crypt with the basically the Geraldo type TV personality who is going to do a haunted house episode and winds up getting slaughtered when he's in there. That one, for years, even still to this day, I can't watch it in the dark.
Really?
It creeps me out.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that episode.
Oh, I love that episode to death, but I can't watch it in the dark. I can watch every other episode of Tales from the Crypt in the dark, but not that one.
I was going to mention one other that bothers me, and now I can't.
Oh, sorry, I derailed it.
Damn you! Damn you!
It'll come back to you
No,
when
it
the
won't. It's
camera's off.
gone. It's gone. It's never
Gone
coming
forever.
back.
No, it hates you.
It hates me. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, my wife would be like, I don't know. You watch every horror movie that comes out. Yeah, nothing
They don't
lately
do
though.
horror
Is
anymore.
I remember.
Yeah.
1984.
Oh Jesus! Yeah,
Oh.
that's not a
That
horror film.
movie.
That's just
That's a horror movie. It's actually pretty good. It's a slow burn. It's Summer of 1984 is the name of the movie.
summer of 1984.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, I thought you meant the film 1984
No,
based on the
no.
book.
No, that one gives you, that one should give you nightmares if you're a
Yeah.
thinking person.
No, I was going to say the other one that again, it doesn't terrify me, but it definitely disturbs me. But also, I kind of like it and relate to it. Is an indie film called Dark Skies.
Hmm. Good film.
So
Yeah, I can't think of any of them really. Yeah, horror movies don't get to me. Action films don't really get to me. I'm trying to think. No, I can't really think of one that. Um, yeah, I'm sorry. I got a total loss. I mean, I got a fucked up fear response.
A
it,
great,
it doesn't kick in.
well, how much time did you spend in a war zone? I mean, come on.
That is true. That's part of it.
a film I recently watched, which I can't shut up about really because I'm just so impressed by how good it was. It was called Bone Tomahawk with Kurt Russell, and it's a western about primitives in the old west that even the Native Americans won't get near because they're too fucked up. Kidnap a couple of people in this small town, and Kurt Russell and a couple of other guys have to venture into the wilderness to go rescue them. And God, that's such an amazing film. And it's been a long time since I've seen a scene that was brutal and visceral and not over the top and like stupid as far as gore went. It was just enough gore to actually make me feel physically ill, and I don't get that very often. So, just absolutely wonderful. I could talk more about it, but I would derail the show. So, Bone Tomahawk with Kurt Russell. See it.
I have to pick that one up.
I mean, just Kurt Russell alone is worth the price of admission. Oh, and Sean Young's in it for briefly.
Scary games don't get to me. I mean, Alien Isolation didn't do it because they of course they went to where there's a nest there instead of you just facing that one. Of course, they just went for the nest because easy. I played pretty much all the horror games and they don't bother me. Trying to think.
You know, the other one that, as far as games go, yeah, I can't think of any that actually scared me. But I will say Manhunt definitely disturbed me.
Yeah.
Manhunt was a great game.
Oh, yeah, it was. It was a great game.
No, you know what was a good game? A good horror game? The Suffering.
Never played.
No.
It was banned in California, Texas, Alabama.
Oh, okay. There you go.
It
That
was
would explain why we didn't play it. We were still in California.
it was an Xbox game, and it was probably The Suffering, and actually the sequel was pretty good too. But it was a oh, there you go.
Oh, no, keep going.
But it was a really good scary game. I mean, it wasn't scary to me, but my daughters were all like, "Oh, this is so scary, Daddy, keep playing."
That's kind of like how Manhunt was. Like, God, this is making me ill, but I can't turn away.
I had a
Here we
rule
go.
with scary movies. If my kids saw part of the scary movie because they were peeking around the corner, they had to sit down on the couch and watch the whole thing. Do you know why?
No.
Because at the end of the scary movie, Jason's always put down.
Oh.
They
that makes
always
sense.
get the closure because if they're peeking around the corner, they miss the closure. They miss Michael Myers being put down, Jason Voorhees. They miss the bad guy getting put down, so then he stalks their dreams. But if you have them come out and sit there and make them suffer through the scary stuff, they get the the bad guy got put away. I can go to bed. He's not there anymore. And it worked.
I like that.
That's a good point. Okay, because you brought it up, Yang. Yes, it is. This isn't a very good picture, but here we go. This is Dark Skies. See, I see shit like that, so it bothers me.
So hence why it bothers you.
Or at least it used to. It doesn't really bother me anymore.
Yeah, that fuck with me. Yeah, I hate stuff. I'm lucky. I've never really suffered visual hallucinations too bad.
Yeah, you've heard the shows where I talk about that stuff, right?
Yeah, I've
Or
seen some of
no?
them. Yeah, no, I've seen some of them.
Yeah, I
But
mean, the gray alien thing doesn't bother me anymore. I mean, I've made peace with that. It's the Shadow Man that scares the shit out of me. Oh, System Shock's a great game.
my father had problems with little tiny men that were like 6 inches tall.
Really?
If he ran a fever, he'd start swearing to God they were like lurking behind the dresser. But yeah, I run a fever and I start thinking the appliances are out to get me. I've actually murdered toasters. Uh,
Wait, Maximum Overdrive.
yeah, I get all paranoid if I run a really high fever.
So, what did these little men look like according to your dad? These little
I'm
6-inch.
flashing on the gate.
Yeah.
According to him, they had great big eyes and they looked like normal people, except their eyes were too big, and they had mouthfuls of sharp teeth,
It sounds like a
and
gate.
they were coming to get him.
Wow.
Oh God, my sister swears up and down this is true. Do you remember the old digital clocks that weren't actually digital? They had the spindles with the numbers on them,
Yeah.
and they went click, click, click. Okay.
Mhm.
So my sister, I remember I was about 6 or 7. My sister was a teenager. My sister's a lot older than me, and she found one at a yard sale for 50 cents. And the guy's like, no, and she was like, oh, I only have a quarter. And the guy's like, you know what? You can just have it, right? So my sister takes it home. The first night, she comes running out of her bedroom, screaming at the top of her lungs, and she swore up and down that the clock started whispering her name.
Holy shit.
My dad's all drunk, and he goes, go to bed. Yeah, so she goes in there. She goes screaming out, Daddy is saying my name. And he's like, you know what? Bullshit it is. My dad's all hammered, right? By this time, the whole house is awake because my sister screams like a banshee. And that's what happens with a redhead Irish girl. She screams like a banshee. And my dad goes in there and she goes, I'm going to prove you. Sit your ass on the couch. Right? My dad comes out about 10 minutes later and goes, I think that thing's whispering. But you go to bed. My sister's like, what? And so she unplugged it and she put it in the hallway. Well, my mom gets up in the morning because she didn't wake up because she slept. She slept with Prince Wine, and she gets up and plugs it in. Next night, my sister is like, "Daddy, it's telling me to look at it. It's saying my name and saying to look at it." My dad's like, "Bullshit, it is." And then he looks at me, and goes, "Boy, go get that clock out of your sister's room." I'm like, "So she'll beat my ass if I go in her room." He goes, "Don't back me. Go get that clock." Get the clock, put it in my room. Nothing happens. It's just tick, tick, tick. But my sister's like, give me my clock back. Give it back to her. And everything's fine for like 2 days. And she comes screaming in the front room, Daddy, the clock's telling me to look at it. It says my name. My dad's like, God damn it, I'm done with this shit. Right? Goes in there, sits in there and he's drinking wine. He's got his gun. Sitting there drinking. All of a sudden we hear, boom, boom, boom. My dad comes out and be like, I'll be goddamn that thing didn't call me by my name. Fuck that clock. My sister to this day will not own a digital clock. Now, see, I'm seeing this from, the view of a 5 or 6 year old. Dad just unloaded his 45 in the house. My sister to this day swears up and down. Of course, she wanted the clock back because her little brother had it, and her little brother was happy that he had it. So she wanted it back. That's an older sister thing. But yeah, that clock, and I never heard it say my name. But still, it's, my dad, that thing said my name. I don't go by my middle name. I was like, Dad has a middle name. But yeah, my sister to this day will not allow a digital clock in her house. She's like, no, no, no. They stare at you.
Okay, real quickly,
Wow.
if you guys want me to do another Shadow Man X episode where I talk about it, I will, but I'm not going to do it right now. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's you all right? There's all kinds of weird shit out there. I mean, that's like my grandparents' farm. You could
Mhm.
hear a train, right? About midnight around the full moon, you'd be able to hear this train. You'd even hear the whistle. You hear and the whistle.
Mhm.
The thing is the railroad tracks out there hadn't been used in 100 years, and you could hear
Oh
that damn
shit.
thing out there. Uh,
Really?
yeah, there's a town called Chehalis.
Mhm.
There's a bridge where they hung a bunch of guys, where some vigilantes hung a bunch of men, hung like 6 dudes back in the fucking like 1919 or so. Hung a
Mhm.
bunch of dudes that if you drive out there, sometimes with I don't know if it's the water or what, but once in a while you would swear you could see bodies on there. Yeah, they lynched a bunch of dudes because it turned in a bunch of socialists opened fire on a Veterans Day march, and it ended
Oh.
up in lynchings. No, no, no. If I would have done that, if I would have done that with that clock and said it's for you, she would have punched me right in my face.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, somebody disappearing off a trail in the woods, that happens all the damn time.
Wow.
You just got somebody. That's like if you really want to see something, if you look at the camping signs, right,
Mhm.
with whatever you take in with you, take back out. If you
Mhm.
notice, it's 2 people getting stuff out of the trunk. It's only one person putting stuff back in the trunk. Where'd the other person go?
Oops.
Oh God, remember back in the day, you used to find fucking dead bodies when you're out hiking. Or that could be just living in Oregon and Washington.
Again, the urban Inglewood specifically. So me, it was just my mom told me from very early on that our house was haunted. Specifically, it was possessive and it didn't want us to leave.
Oh, love
And
that.
that, like, the nexus of where all of the bad was coming from happened to be in my closet.
Oh
So
Jesus.
so and it's only in that house. This is something I didn't have a problem anywhere else. But that house, if my closet door was open, there was no way in hell I would get into my bedroom as long as that door was open. Somebody had to close it, or all the lights had to be turned on before I would even enter the room. And I could tell if the closet door had been left open and the lights were off. I could tell because there's just something about it that would scare the shit out of me. So that's why I have this thing with haunted houses. And you were talking about the clock talking to your sister. I had that happen in my house from that closet where I'd hear voices calling my name from the damn closet. Shit. And you can call it what you want, but and I haven't done
No.
it anywhere else. Once I moved out, it didn't happen again. But shit.
I'll tell you one thing. I actually got scared one time. Well, it wasn't so much scared as I wanted to get the hell out of there. It was like 11 o'clock at night. We're going from where we're living out on the coast. We're going to see my mom because of reasons. I don't know why. I don't know why I went and saw that old woman. But should have known it was going to go bad because we're driving down the road, right? And all of a sudden, this guy lurches out from the weeds at the side of the road. And I mean, we're doing 45, 50 miles an hour. And he grabs at the
Well, it's a
side of the
bad
car.
idea to leave this outside during a flash flood warning.
Oh.
He grabs the side of the car, and I yelled at my wife to punch it. And we get to the gas station. We call in, and the sheriff is like, "Yeah, this guy has been jumping at cars all fucking night, and he's got a knife."
Jeez.
Do I have any alien or UFO stories? I did see a UFO, but you got to hear the whole story.
Okay.
Um, it's like November of 1990, and we're up by the Iraq border, and me and some friends were up there, and we're hiding out because you don't want the Iraqis to see you because they're gonna pop a couple rounds at you. And we're laying there, and we hear this thrumming noise. It's like, what the fuck is that? I mean, this sounds like nothing we've ever heard. And then these lights come over us, right? And this shape blots out the stars, and it's shaped like this big V.
Oh, you saw
We're like,
that?
we're like, what the fuck is that? you know, and we got the MVGs on, and I'm like, I can't get anything off of it. It's just a black shape. I can't see anything. And then it stands on its tail, and just there's this big boom, and it just streaks off. Yeah, it was one of the B series bombers. We called it in. We called it in. It was like we just saw that and described it. In the middle of describing it, we heard this voice cuts in. He goes, "You need to shut up right now."
Wow.
We're like, "How?" I was like, "Who the fuck is this?" No, I got to report this. He's like, "I'm from the Air Force. You need to shut the fuck up right now. Don't say where you are. Don't give us the grid coordinate. Just call somebody when you get back to camp." We got back and we were told it was the B series bomber out checking out Iraq, and because it was an unidentified flying object. When I saw it, it was the weirdest thing I've seen in my life. It didn't sound like a plane. It didn't move like a plane, and it wasn't shaped like one. Because you know,
Wow.
if you look up the B series, they're not shaped like normal planes,
No, they're not.
and they just
Well-
do this boom, 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 boom. Their trip. You know what's funny is I told somebody in the Air Force that I was in the middle of the story. He goes, "Dude, you saw the B series? You saw that?" I think he said it was like the B2. I was like, "Yep." It's like the thing scared the shit out of us.
Yeah, we've seen it in the daylight a few times back when they would do the air show at Miramar.
Hmm.
Ooh, McCord. I know where McCord is.
Hmm.
Yep, Fort Lewis. Yeah, it's McCord. Fort Lewis and McCord. Yeah, I used to live out by there.
So do you have any other UFO stories, or?
I've seen a couple weird things out in the woods. I mean, you know, I'm not a big druggie, so it wasn't drugs. It wasn't booze because you know I'm not always drunk. I wasn't always drunk. I've seen the weird lights out in the woods. You're like, there's nothing out there. How the hell is that even possible? Because you see the lights and they're not moving right. We did have a weird one. This is a really weird one. So it was, yeah, no, I-5. Exit 88 is Rochester Grand Mountain. That's where I used to be. That's where I used to live by. I lived on a secure post. I lived on a secure section of the secure post. And you had to have a pass to go off post. You had to have a pass to go farther than 50 miles, a pass to go farther than 150 miles. So they kept tight accountability of us. Well, one day, dude comes up missing, right? And everybody was like, this guy was reliable. This guy was not the type to like go AWOL. I mean, he was a careerist, and he disappears. And so we were out there looking for him. The Rangers are out looking for him. It's summertime. Maybe the Boers got him. And you know, they say there's no wolves in Germany. There was wolves up there. And everybody's like, this guy's got to be dead. So I'm on CQ, which is charge of quarters, which means you're watching the phones, making sure the barracks burns down, making sure nobody comes out with a knife, stabbing their roommate, stuff like that. And phone rings. And it's like 2 a.m, you know, I answer the phone. And it's the guy. He's like, hey, what's up? I'm like, where the fuck are you, man? I'm like, you know, this line's being recorded, right? He goes, check this out. I'm in Nebraska. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing in Nebraska? He's like, dude, I woke up in a cornfield. And I'm like, you're full of shit. He's like, no, I'm serious. I'm using this dude's phone. He's telling me to get off the phone. Call me back. So I call the CO and I'm like, hey, Hutch just called in and he says he's in Nebraska. The CO's like, I'm coming in. Gets there. We call back and we look it up in the phone book. It's a Kansas area code. I mean, it's not Kansas. It's a Nebraska area code. We call back. He's like, and this old man answers, yeah, what do you want? And he's like, yeah, this is Colonel Adams. I need to talk to Hutchinson. And Hutchinson gets on the phone. I'm listening on the other line. What do you mean you were in Nebraska? It's like, I woke up in a cornfield a couple hours ago. It's like noon. It's like 4 p.m. here. He's like, what do you mean it's 4 p.m? He's like, it's not. It's like there's daylight. I woke up in the cornfield. He's like, I'm still in uniform. And the CO's like, is this some weird ploy to get out of going AWOL? He's like, I'm serious. I'm still wearing my uniform. So, you know, they sent some cops to go pick him up. The sheriff department goes, he's in his uniform. He only has German money on him. He doesn't have any American money on him. And so they bring him back, and we're like, what the hell happened? He goes, I'm telling you, I'm walking to the class 6 to get some booze. And I cut through the back roads, cut back on the old Nazi roads. And there was this bright light, and I woke up in a cornfield in Nebraska. And we're like, dude, you've been gone a week. Just tell us what happened, dude. Tell us what happened. He's like, I'm telling you, there was a bright white light. You know, we thought he was bullshitting. the Air Force comes out, and they put him in this room, and they sweat him for like 4 hours. And he comes out, and he's like, man, those Air Force guys are uptight. I just kept telling him, there was a bright light, and I wake up in Nebraska. And it was like, what the shit? It's like, how does this even happen? And, the CEO's like, maybe it was the Russians. And I'm like, yeah, the Russians flew him to Nebraska to drop him off because they're such great guys. He's like, well, what am I supposed to think? I'm like, I don't know. I think it was the Air Force. And he's like, what, the Air Force just swoops in and picks up some random asshole? I'm like, if I was in the Air Force, I'd do shit like that. He's like, yeah, but you're a dick. No idea why he disappears from a mountain road in the Alps, in the Fulda Gap, and reappears in Nebraska in a cornfield. Why? Oh, he also, all of his clothing had a high background radiation. It looked like he'd been exposed to an unshielded warhead.
Oh shit!
This is all Travis Walton shit here.
Yeah, it is.
Travis Walton?
Oh, Fire in the Sky case. A lot of this is kind of
I have
reminiscent.
never seen that movie.
The
I've heard
movie's
of it,
not
I've never
very
seen it.
accurate. It's an enjoyable movie. Okay, actually, the movie is fairly accurate up until the abduction, and that's all bullshit.
Ah.
But the actual drama of the town and the investigation and all that is pretty accurate. The account of the abduction is nothing like what Walton actually said. But yeah, the Travis Walton case is very interesting. It happened in Snowflake, Arizona. These guys were, I think, clearing woods for the fire department to make sure there weren't any fires. They see what they thought was a fire burning at twilight out in the woods. They drive out there. They said they saw a saucer and that it took one of them. And that was Travis Walton. And he comes back 4 days later, and it's a weird case because for every bit of evidence that says it's a hoax, there's also a bit of evidence that says no, it isn't, and that's really strange. There were some weird physiological things about him that didn't really make a lot of sense. They didn't suggest someone who had hid out in a hotel, nor did it suggest someone who had had exposure. Also, all of the woodsmen who claimed to have seen the saucer, their hats had high levels of radiation on them, and the location itself had background radiation above background.
Huh. Yeah, because you know what? Here's the trippy thing. It happened 3 more times, and every time they were dropped in Nebraska.
To other people?
Yeah. Yeah, it happened like 3 or 4 other times. It was funny because I was on CQ, and like when the third guy vanished, it was like a week later, the CO said, okay, if it goes by pattern, they should call. He goes, I'm telling you, it's the Russians. And I'm like, I'm telling you, it's the Air Force. There's that Groucho guy. He's like, hi. I'm like, yeah, that's unit. He's like, yeah, I got one of your boys out here again. He's like, what the hell are you people doing? And I'm like, is there like any weird patterns in the cornfield? He's like, life isn't a movie, boy. Your men are just coming out of my cornfield. Because I want to know what you're doing. I'm like, I have no idea. But yeah, and every time it'd be like, we saw a bright light and we woke up in Nebraska.
That's almost like an argument for aliens pranking people.
Yeah, we figured it was the CO and military intelligence figured it was the Russians, and I was always like, yeah, they're penetrating U.S. airspace to drop these assholes off of Nebraska. I thought it was the Air Force fucking with us.
It probably is. I mean, that does sound like. Okay, let's
Was
see.
their underwear on backwards?
No, but they were all drunk.
Well,
They were all drunk.
That does sound like the Air Force then.
Mm-hmm.
But they're getting off a secure post and they're going across an ocean and showing up in the same field in Nebraska every time. It's like, it's got to be the Air Force.
Yeah.
But why? And then, somebody's like, okay, smart ass, if it's the Air Force, why? And I was like, because they can and they think this shit is funny.
There's a lot of things that happen because they think shit's funny.
Oh, God, didn't it turn out that there was some guy that actually had a gray alien costume that was terrorizing a highway for like 40 years because he thought it was funny?
I got to look into that. That sounds great.
That's hysterical.
I think there was some guy that like admitted it really late in life, and he spent like the 60s and 70s scaring the shit out of people.
Well,
Wow.
People are
let's see.
weird.
There's at least one Air Force base in Nebraska, so
Yeah, we were all just like, okay, that's and then we stopped using that road though because we were like, because you weren't supposed to go down that road anyway. So
Mm.
you'd cut through the fence, and it would cut like 2 miles off your hike.
I'm like,
But
okay,
it was
well,
like,
hike the 2 miles. Don't want to
yeah,
be in
just hike the
Nebraska.
extra 2 miles, just take a couple extra beers and keep walking. I know.
Jeez.
I do know that a whole tank crew disappeared from Grafenwehr one night.
What happened?
They don't know. The tank was found abandoned.
Oh.
and they never came back, huh?
They never came back. Everybody was like, "What?" And I remember I helped recover the tank, and I remember they had to junk it because it had high levels of radiation. And everybody was like, "Oh, it must have been the Russians." I was like, "If it was the Russians, they would have taken the commo gear, and they would have taken they would have taken at least one round of ammo, because that was all high security stuff. These guys just vanished."
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
really interesting.
but a whole tank crew going AWOL at Grafenwehr. I mean, where the hell did they go?
Yeah.
You had the same thing at NTC at Fort Irwin. People disappear out there all the damn time. Oh, they went AWOL. No, they didn't. We would have found their bodies by now. Yeah, they never found their bodies. They never found nothing. The tank was abandoned.
Whoa.
But but back in the day, everybody was like, "Yep, that's just the way the game rolls."
And this was the 90s?
No, this was the 80s. Well,
The
80,
80s, okay.
the late 80s. It was like, okay,
Well, you know at the Rendlesham case?
the what?
Rendlesham Forest?
Mm-mm.
That was another one where it's like, this happened. It's not even in question. In fact, it so happened that when it became popular, the Air Force started purposely releasing disinformation to confuse it and muddle the story. And they even got the original guys to start changing their story, which tells me there was something to it. And it was multiple nights at a nuclear installation in the UK near Rendlesham Forest, where they kept seeing these weird lights, kind of these triangle-shaped ships.
Wait, are you talking about the NATO base up by the woods in the northern UK
Yeah,
in the 80s?
yeah.
Yeah, there was nothing there.
There was nothing there.
It was just lights.
Well, the guys that claim they'd had the encounter, there is the spot. It did have landing indentations in the ground. The area was irradiated. And the guy tried to record it. He had a recorder on him, the guy that was on patrol, because they kept seeing it happen over and over again. And so he'd been keeping a camera and a little cassette recorder on him. And as he got closer to it, the recorder actually just starts failing. It doesn't. I guess, what is it? Radiation messes with the
ionized radiation destroys electronics.
Right. And also the film didn't come out. It had the pattern of if it had been exposed to something radioactive. And that they themselves were irradiated. And for the longest time, it was denied. They said, "Oh, nothing happened." And then the tape actually had been they had been confiscated. But when they emptied the base out, when they shut it down, somebody found the tape in the bottom of a drawer, and it got released to the press.
What was on it? Now I'm all nervous.
Oh, it was just the guy recounting what he was seeing, and he's describing the whole thing, and you can hear him actually kind of getting weirder and weirder as he approaches it, and then the recorder goes out.
Oh man, we had to move some W series artillery shells, and those are nukes. And
Okay.
we had the helicopter suffered a bearing failure, so we had to land. And so now these rounds had to be moved special. And when we land, one of the containers hit and cracked open, which typical, government made. So we got radiation everywhere. It's not too bad. It's just mainly coming off the shells.
Mhm.
But because we were running stealth, we were only running with minimum. Actually, we weren't even running with legal lights. We landed in this field, and then later we take off, and sure as shit, we start hearing this story about how there was aliens in that field, and they went out there and checked, and there was background radiation, and I'm like, oh shit. And I got a visit. It was like helicopter. I was like, bearing failed. We had to land and get another one come in. He's like, can't do that, man. I'm like, no shit. That's like those stories around Umatilla. There were stories of ghost trucks, right? That there these big semis that would just vanish.
Okay.
What a lot of people didn't find out until the early 1990s was about 10, 15 miles outside of the town of Umatilla was a chemical weapons storage depot. And you would go out there, and the sheriff would sit at one end of the road and would keep people from going down it. And you'd wear your night vision goggles, and you'd get in the truck when it's all loaded up with artillery shells, and you'd fucking leave and go to the railway, and you'd have all your lights off. So what people are seeing in the middle of the night is a dark green semi pulling a dark green trailer with a tarp on it, so it's making a flapping noise, going down the road with no lights and apparently nobody inside. And what we were doing was we were moving the chemical weapons out.
Interesting. Okay, so there's the base near Rendlesham. It's a nuclear facility. The guards keep claiming that they're seeing this weird light fly around and beam spotlights onto the silos. And then they encounter something in the forest. They're highly irradiated. Their memory is all scrambled, and then the Air Force apparently brings them in a back room and tears into them for about, I think it was 4 or 5 hours, telling them never talk about this. And so you think this is another one of those warhead things?
Yeah, it happens now and then, and you've got to keep it all undercover. The thing is about ionized radiation, a lot of people don't realize, is it fucks up your memory. Your skull doesn't stop it; it goes straight to your brain, and it can mess up your memory really bad. And
Interesting.
here's the other thing: if you look at alien abductions, what happens is these guys claim that like a day or two later they'll get a burn, and they'll say it's like the burn rose up out of their skin, and then the skin will peel. That's a radiation burn. And it'll happen underneath dark clothes, but light clothes will reflect it. I've been exposed a couple times. A radiation burn can take hours or days to show up on the skin. It's really weird. And some of these times you hear, some of these times I've heard, oh yeah, I saw alien ships out there out by the Butte in New Mexico, and it's like, no, you didn't. You saw us. We're just moving some stuff that you don't need to know about because the Cold War's over, or there's just stuff you don't need to know about.
Well, the one true UFO story I have,
The guy from South America.
oh no, I actually think that was the CIA.
No,
I really do.
I agree. I was just thinking
The Villaboas case, where he's a farmer out in his field. This bizarre craft comes down. Guys in you hear their description. He says they're spacesuits. You look at the pictures of old radiation suits.
Yeah.
And that's what they sound like. I actually did a show on this. They come down, they grab him, they drag him into this craft, which this is, I think, the late 40s, and it has a spinning rotor, which he's never seen before, okay?
Because he's a Mexican peasant.
And they drag him into the craft. Apparently, the cabin's flooded with a gas. He comes to, and what he describes as a very short, oriental-looking woman with platinum blonde hair and flaming red pubic hair has sex with him. And,
now no one will believe what you saw.
And then they fly him back to his tractor after a few hours and dump him back on the ground. Now, supposedly, there is stories that the CIA was actually doing this in Brazil. Oh, and he was irradiated, and he did have a very bizarre ring of blisters that formed around his scrotum.
So she had herpes.
um, and that apparently there is. I had read some stuff that the CIA may have actually been performing illegal radiation experiments out there.
Oh my god. Uh, I worked with some crazy stuff. I worked with conspiracy theories, man. I mean, they make me sound crazy. None of this is classified anymore because you can actually look these places up online. Look up a Titan or an Atlas or a Hercules missile silo. Now they're for sale. You can buy them for like $500,000.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now I helped dismantle these, and these are extensive systems. I mean, this is stuff that is conspiracy theory, completely crazy, right? So we're working one day and we're cleaning it out, but this is one of the fully staffed ones. I think it was one of the old Atlas systems, and it's got medical bays. You know, it's got enough room for 100 people in it. You know, it was a multi-launch facility, but it when they got rid of the Atlases, it was no they just mothballed it. There was other stuff going on, but I'm not gonna get into that. But there's a car wreck, right? And we're coming back and we see this guy roll his fucking car with his wife and kids, and we're miles from any help. So we do first aid right there, and we grab him, we take him where we're working, and we're like, hey, we'll have the chopper take him in. And the guy came to, and he starts screaming, right? And I realized why later, but we hold him down, and we give him another shot, and he goes out. We load him up in the helicopter, fly him out. Now here's his memories. He wrecks his car, and then he sees figures in gas masks pick him up, and then he blacks out, and he wakes up in this room with white tile, and there's people with gas masks doing surgical stuff to him, and he can hear his baby crying, and he can hear somebody singing. And then he wakes up again, and he's flying over the terrain, and then he wakes up in the hospital. Think about this guy's story from his point of view. From our point of view, we picked him up, we took him to the site, the helicopter was gone, we had to wait, we had to do emergency first aid, our team medic fixed him, stabilized him, stabilized the wife, we took care of the baby, the helicopter came in, we load him up, we send him back.
It's a
We're doing a
killer
good
from
deed.
space, but with a baby.
And this guy was absolutely convinced he'd been abducted by aliens, and it's like, ah. But then I look at it from his point of view. He must have been so fucking freaked out because he rolled his car, and he's got a head wound, and our medic stuffing his intestines back in, and that
Oh,
must have looked
Jesus.
freaky to him. But look at those silo systems; they're huge, and we were dismantling them. We're taking them apart, and we
Well,
were.
those silo systems, is I thought those are one of those things. Where it's like, if I had the money, I'd buy one.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But, I mean, can you imagine that poor guy? We're just doing community service. We can't treat him by the side of the road because it's raining and fucking like 40 degrees out. He's going to die of exposure. We just loaded him up in the truck. The medic hung IVs, and we just rolled out. We are like, what? We'll get the helicopter. And everybody's like, that was nice, you guys, to pick him up. You could have just drove right by. I said, we can't drive by somebody wrecks a car. But to this guy, he crashes his car, and then guys in gas masks are staring at him.
Mhm.
And worse, the medic's got her NVGs on, so she can work in the dark.
Yeah, that's probably thoroughly bizarre.
We figured we traumatized that dude so bad. But we were just being, I mean, look at the size of those places.
Well, better traumatized than dead.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it can be like, you could tell anybody you want what happened to you. No one will believe you. No one will believe you that we carried your family underground and did surgical things to them, and then flew you to the hospital and landed in the parking lot. This poor guy, everybody probably thinks he's a nut. He's not.
Oh, shit.
Okay, I've grabbed a few pictures, and hopefully this will help illustrate what was talked about from the Villaboas case in Brazil.
Real quick.
I know we need dinner soon.
Yeah, I gotta turn into a pumpkin. So
Well, yeah.
I'm gonna.
We'll
until
call
I
this a
deck
night
out.
very soon. Okay.
I
Okay.
gotta deck
My
out.
wife will be
Okay.
happy. My wife will be happy.
They're absolutely wonderful.
Um, yeah. According to this guy, he saw men or spacemen in these suits come out and get him, and they jumped out of a craft that looked like this. And you see the arrow up there? Those were rotors.
It's a prototype helicopter.
And I've got to guess that it might have been one of these
Yeah,
things.
yeah, it's one of those.
And I
There it
kind
is.
of wonder if these were what he saw. Now, the bit about the 5 foot tall albino Asian girl having sex with him, I have no idea.
That might be. Oh God, they might have shot him up with. Back in the day, they used to use. God damn it, sodium pentothal. They used to
Okay.
use sodium pentothal to knock people out because it was relatively harmless. The problem with sodium pentothal is it makes you see shit. It makes you very suggestive.
Interesting. Okay. Well, so
No,
you actually have hallucinations on it.
yeah. Undead Rama said she feels bad for the wife. Well, the wife was fucked up too. So, the
Interesting.
baby's the only one that didn't get hurt.
Well, the thing that fascinates me about the whole abduction phenomena is that there is weird shit about it. And hearing your side about, well, the military does these things is really interesting.
Because
Um,
who's going to believe you?
I mean, the Travis Walton case is another one where, in one lens, you can say, well, was he picked up by a saucer, or was it military? And that's because what happened in the ship is different from what was in the film. Um, his report was that he gets zotted. Now the problem is 5 people saw this thing, and their stories all match as far as the saucer is concerned. What happens afterwards? He says what he saw was that he'd come to in a room, and that he'd been surrounded by little guys with big eyes, and he was on a surgical table. And from one light, you could say, are these grays? Or another light, are these guys in surgical masks? And he threatens to beat them up, and he gets violent, and they all leave the room, and he starts wandering where he is. And then he sees a normal human, but he's wearing a pressure suit.
Oh, wow.
And the human in the pressure suit won't talk to him, but kind of guides him out to a hangar where there are more saucers and other people in pressure suits. And then they grab him and throw him on a table and gas him, and the next thing he knows, he's on the side of the road.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Here,
But
I'll show you what this poor bastard was seeing in the private chat. Let me paste the link.
okay.
Check that picture out. That's what this poor bastard was seeing, only it was all dark green, not gray.
But as for the abduction phenomena, the two things, I did actually see a saucer myself, and I mean it was a legit B movie, exactly what you expect saucer. When I was, I think 13, I was coming back from summer camp. It was during the day, so it was like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 in the afternoon. We're coming down the mountain and looking out the window over this lake. There's this silver disc just flying right over it. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing all that special. I mean, it looked like a hubcap.
That's
Didn't
trippy.
didn't do anything special. It just cruised on by. That was it.
But
Um,
did you click that link? You can see where that dude started fighting us.
I'm looking for. Oh, it's in the private chat. Okay.
Yeah. You can
Um,
you can see why dudes started fighting us, and we're telling him to calm down.
yeah, you know what? I wouldn't think these are aliens, what you're showing me, but it'd scare the shit out of me.
Well, think if you'd been in a car wreck and your eyes are all fucked up,
Oh yeah.
and I always felt bad for that guy. It's like, can't we tell him? No. We're gonna implode this place in a week anyway. No. So this guy just gets to go through life thinking, huh? aliens came and got me.
Now, if I got into a car crash and I woke up to this, oh my God.
He started screaming. I feel bad, but at the
Frankly, if
same
I
time,
saw this, I'd think, oh my God, 1984 has happened. Big Brother got me. I'm going to room 101.
yeah. And the lenses are polarized, so you can't really see our faces
Jesus.
because we had the polarized caps.
But the other reason that it is interesting is I would say through the mid to late 90s to the early 2000s, I did have um, a series of like psychotically ultra vivid dreams that involved gray aliens and simulations, and I mean they were really really involved, and it used to horrify the crap out of me. And it was kind of interesting is that at some point in one of the dreams, I finally made peace with them. I guess realizing what they symbolized, and ever since then, if I see them, it doesn't bother me.
That's good.
The Shadow Man, on the other hand, is oh Jesus, that's just miserable. I don't know if I'll ever get over that. You've heard of the Shadow Man phenomena, right?
Kind of.
The interesting thing is that what people see in hypnagogic visions is cultural specific, and they change over time. And so, depending on what part of the world you're in, Americans apparently Americans, Brits, and Japanese see gray aliens. Other people will see demons. Other people will see sexy succubi, little gnomes. It varies. Ghosts. But apparently, universally, it doesn't matter what culture you're from. The shadow man phenomena is universal, and it's basically looks like a living shadow person. And different people have different experiences. Usually, they just stand there and stare at you, and you're terrified. Um, Mine, I've actually had it where they'll crawl through a window or come through a door and stab me right where I was shot or the bullet entered. And those are the worst fucking night terrors ever.
I get mine. I'll tell you one thing. I have dreams that fuck my brain.
Yeah.
I mean, I dream this dream. It's a recurring dream, and I dream that I wake up on the floor of my barracks room, and it's 1989. I'm young again. I don't hurt all over the place, and my buddy is like, "God damn, we got hammered last night." And I sit up, and I'm like, "But my wife and kids." And my friend's like, "You were mumbling all night, man. We should not have done the Jello shots off that stripper." And then I go out to formation, and it's 1988, 1989 again. And everything I've lived since then was just an alcohol poisoning dream. And
That's horrible.
that dream fucks with me so bad. I mean, I'll wake my wife up and make her talk to me. Because my friend will be like, "Do you have that dream about that chick and your kids again?" And it's like, yeah. He's like, "You got to go see mental health." And it's so vivid. And it's like, and then thankfully I'll wake up from that dream. It'll be like all the pain comes back, and I'm like, "Oh, thank God." Literally
That's
at the meme. Oh yeah, I've seen that meme, and it always fucks with me. What
what.
do you the meme of the towers, a war on terror? What are you talking about, man? You fell and hit your head really bad. Come on, let's go. I have that dream, and I've had it since
Wow.
I've had it since my third daughter was born. It's what it is. It's a fear that because I got everything I wanted in life. I had really small dreams. I wanted a house. I wanted a family that loved me and that I loved, and that was it. I wanted the American dream right there. And so because I got it, my nightmares are all it's all a dream. It's all a lie. And that one gets to me. I don't have dreams about being shot or anything like that. It's it's waking up and finding out that everything that I think happened was just an alcohol poisoning dream. I mean, I've called my I've called my mental health tech before in the middle of the night and woken her up.
Really, just that bad.
Yeah. Well, imagine if you woke up. Imagine if you had a dream where you woke up in the hospital and they were like, "Ishi, man, you were mumbling about some girl named Kat and being an author and the
Oh, that
internet.
would
What
be
the hell's the
miserable.
internet?
Yeah,
What?"
yeah, that would be utter. Yeah, that would be terrible. Of course, then I suppose I could ask. Well, oh wait. Am I not dating Sharon? Did
Yeah.
that part of my life not happen?
Well, what's funny is I'd write everything down that's going to happen, and I'd go down and be like, "Look, this is all that's going to happen," and it would start coming true. And they'd look at me and be like, "How do you know this?" And I'd be like, "I had this dream," and they're like, "Oh, you're one of those." That always wakes me up. Uh,
Well,
Memoirs.
yeah.
Pat's memoir is good.
What memoir is good?
I've read Patton's biography. I don't really read very many war uh, memoirs at all. I don't really read them. Seems like I would, but no.
You prefer Animal Crossing or?
Actually, when it comes to video games, I play a lot of violent video games, and I play a lot of stuff like Dyson Sphere. Um, uh, Undead Ramen's my internet wife. Me and her will play like Payday 2, stuff like that, where I can run around and act like an asshole in the game.
Dyson Sphere is a game? What is that? I
Uh,
know what a Dyson Sphere is, but
you've got to start with like a robot, a manufacturing robot, and work your way up to building a Dyson Sphere. I picked it up
oh,
for like
that's cool.
$10. Yeah,
Oh, that sounds great.
I haven't played God of War. I haven't played that. God, I've got 300 games. How many games do I have on my Steam account? Let's see. I have a grand total of. Let me scroll down here real quick. Come on. Oh, now Steam's gonna freeze up. And last time I checked, I had something like 300 and something games because I'm subscribed to what's that called? Humble Bundle, so I get them all the time. Let's see. I've got.
The reason I asked about Animal Crossing is that back when Cat worked at GameStop years and years ago, whenever the Marines would come in from off tour,
Yeah.
they'd come back. None of them wanted combat games. They all wanted Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing, shit like that. Yeah, yeah, I can totally see that.
I don't want anything violent. Animal Crossing.
Oh, yeah, I can totally see that. Be like, give me my Animal Crossing game.
All right. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
I really need to go get dinner too, so
Yeah,
I'm going to call it a night.
My wife's giving me the eye, which is, hey, you said it was going to be an hour. Come on.
Yeah, we've been on for 2 almost. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Yep. Take care.
Bye.
Oh, goodbye, everybody.